So hello, this week, a very special week. Today we will be doing another All My Dolls video. So it's been a bit since I've done one of these. I think the last one I did was about November of 2024, so it was like over a year ago. But it's been a while since I've done one of these, and also I've gotten a few more dolls. So I figured it'd be about time to do an updated All My Dolls video. I am aware I already do the series Dolls in Depth, which does go a bit more into the intricacies of each of my dolls' personalities, but this is just a general collection overview in just one video, and kind of for the reason that I already have Dolls in Depth, I will be going through each doll and how I got them and their personality. But of course, if you want a more in-depth video, check out the playlist in the description. I have about 17 dolls, 18 counting Olivia, who's a My Twinn doll that's not pictured here, and I've been collecting dolls since about 2020, though I've had prior experiences with American Girl dolls before that point, which I'll explain a bit further once I get to each of my dolls. So without further ado, let's get started. So my very first doll is Olivia. She is not an American Girl doll, but a My Twinn doll, and I received her, I would say about 2012, 2013. When I was a wee little child, I had been receiving, I don't know what came first, if it was so much we did like activities related to American Girl and Girl Scouts first, or if I was introduced to it through the catalogs and the various Nickelodeon commercials. But either way, little child me at the ripe old age of like 7 or 8 years old was introduced to this doll brand, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And of course, too, I also like to watch Sam and Cat, and there was like 2 episodes that basically parodied the American Girl brand. So all these factors combined, and I really wanted one. I liked that you could just get one that kind of looked like you, and that was kind of the whole premise that got me engrossed into this. Problem is, my parents at that time thought I couldn't really take care of them very well. Having like an expensive doll was kind of just, they felt a little unsure about that, so they decided to get me like a bigger doll instead of just the traditional 18-inch doll. The rationality was that the dolls that were a little bit bigger or like more huggable and like easier to dress. So first one was Olivia. I loved her very dearly. Poor girl unfortunately sat in front of a window for a few years, and that's why her eyes are purple. Unfortunately, I've not figured out how to replace them, and I really wish I could replace them. Her hair's like still messy, but it was like a lot worse before. I did manage to at least unknot a lot of her hair, but it is still relatively dry and frizzy. Because she's like bigger than the other ones, she doesn't really star in that many stop motions, but when she does, I don't know, her personality is kind of like old, and that's just who she is. She likes to complain that nothing was the same as it was when she was a child, and that 2012 was like peak humanity for some reason. So this is my very first American Girl doll. This is Caroline Abbott. I received her at an American Girl fashion show like March 8th of 2014, and the American Girl fashion show I think was supposed to be a fundraiser for a children's hospital, or it was for the Children's Museum, and my Girl Scout troop participated in it, and each girl who participated got a free doll, which was really amazing. So I actually kind of wanted Molly at that time, but by the time I was able to get her, she was like retired, and that was such a bummer. So I don't know, by random happenstance, I just chose Caroline, and I'm really glad that I did though, considering that these Caroline dolls are actually now really hard to find. As you can probably see, she doesn't have her original wig. Basically, little 9-year-old me, even though I barely played with her, somehow her curls just got messed up. So I got to a point where I just ended up re-wigging her, and I don't know, I'm really glad that I did, because I think I like the red significantly more than the blonde. Like, it complements her eye color so much better. And I don't know, I like that her red wig makes her almost like my own original character. Because she's devoid from the American Girl books, her personality obviously has nothing to do with historical Caroline. This Caroline is a little diva. She's a drama queen. She is like the queen bee. Her favorite color is pink. she has beef against Julie and Lonnie for some reason. Her best friend's Charlie. And she loves pink, she likes sparkly things, she loves makeup, and she loves being a social media influencer. She oftentimes annoys Michelle, which you'll probably see a bit later in this video, because she tends to be labeled as being very whiny, but she has good intentions most of the time. So here's my doll Charlie. She is my second doll, and I got her July 10th of 2020 after like a very long hiatus from collecting American Girl dolls. She is a Just Like You number 24, and I had gotten her off of eBay. So she was my very first eBay purchase. Long story short, I started watching AGTube after stumbling upon Micah's content and fell in love with American Girl dolls again, and it became a whole new special interest I didn't think would occur, but it did. And so I'm like, I'm not really bonding with my Caroline doll, let's get her a friend. So I got her Charlie. So of course, Charlie is Caroline's best friend. The two have a really strange relationship with each other. Because Charlie's very soft-spoken and shy, and Caroline's very not that, they almost have like an opposite sort of dynamic with each other. Though the relationship is also sometimes pretty unbalanced because Caroline is not always the nicest to Charlie, even though she has good intentions sometimes. So in my videos, she enjoys band. She's a band kid. She's very soft-spoken and shy. She loves reading and collecting dolls and stuffed animals too. Okay, you can't really see his eyes, but I promise they're there. Wait. Okay. So this is my third doll. This is Will. His base doll is a Rebecca doll I got off of eBay like a couple months later after getting Charlie in about like October 7th of 2020. So of course, little me was just very infatuated by this new YouTube community I discovered, and then I was like, oh my gosh, everybody is making a boy doll. All these like AGSM channels have boy dolls. I should make one of my own. So I made him. I don't know what compelled me to choose specifically a Rebecca doll. I think it was mostly just me perusing eBay and like literally finding whatever was the cheapest and had like the worst wig. Because when I first got this doll's wig was like so chopped in both the literal way and also the figurative way. So of course, the wig he has is from Monique Wigs. I think I got it specifically from this Etsy shop called Graham Cat's Closet. And also, what's cool is very recently, I think last year, I actually finally restrung him so he can stand really well on his own now. Personality-wise, when I first made him, his personality was just insert boy traits here. Kind of like a lot of boy dolls on AGTube, but over the years, and especially as I've gotten more boy dolls, I've had to give him more specific personality traits that would separate him from the other ones. He tends to be a bit on the lazy side overall. He's funny, clever, and also really enjoys video games and messing with people. He especially likes to mess with Caroline because Caroline has such a grandiose reaction to everything. It kind of entertains him a little bit. So he'll usually drag some of the other boy dolls and also Ginger and Cat into his shenanigans. So this is my fourth doll, Michelle. She is a Just Like You number 25, and I received her like December 10th of 2020. So once again, she was another doll that I kind of half impulse bought. Of course, when I started watching like AG Jitters around the same time, and I saw Mini Andrea and thought Mini Andrea was like the cutest little bean ever. I was like, oh my gosh, I want my own little Mini Andrea. So unfortunately, because Just Like You number 4s are super rare and super expensive, I'm like, maybe I'll just get my own mini me instead of just having a number 4. So looked on eBay, found this one doll that kind of has similar features as Michelle, but is like a different face mold. And very impulsive was like, yes, $80 for a doll isn't that bad. Let's get her. I have money and stuff. Of course I was persuaded out of it because it was too expensive. So I ended up just looking at random listings and just found Michelle there. But the story doesn't end there, because I think once I ordered her, because it was the pandemic and it was also Christmas time, delivery was very slow for like anything. So because of that, she came like 2 weeks late from my memory, and it was so anxiety producing the entire time because I very much thought that they lost her in the mail, and that would really suck if they did. So this little gremlin's kind of goofy. So she's supposed to be my mini-me. Because my original mini-me doll, which was Olivia, my twin doll, I showed at the very beginning of the video. Olivia was the very first doll, and so she was the mom. So then when Michelle came as my more modern mini-me when I was like 15, Michelle kind of took the mother role when Olivia retired. And although Michelle really likes her siblings and loves them very much and gets kind of sappy around them for some reason, they also kind of drive her up a wall and make her a little crazy, especially Ginger and her animals. We'll talk about that later. Her overall personality characteristics are sarcasm. She's a very sarcastic being sometimes. Other times she just tells absolutely terrible dad jokes that nobody finds funny, and just for some reason she thinks she's a comedian. Another one of her favorite activities includes locking her siblings in the basement when they get a little too much for her. She also tends to be a little flaky sometimes, and by that she's just absolutely spontaneous and forgetful. Sometimes a new doll will just show up and Michelle will just not think to tell anybody about it until the very last minute, and that's just very typical for her. Another one of her weird activities includes talking to her stuffed bear that she names Jeff, who may or may not be sentient. She has her own little series called Michelle's Adventures, where she reacts to various things. And of course, too, this is usually the ideal time where she is locking her siblings up in the basement. So this is my 5th doll, Kat. She is a Just Like You number 29 with a blue Doll of a Kind wig that unfortunately is no longer available. I've gotten so many comments between AGIG and AGTube about this wig. I'm sorry, it's a really nice wig. I'm sure you can find other ones from other Etsy shops, but unfortunately Doll of a Kind's not selling this one anymore. I got her February 19th of 2021. So a combination of factors made me buy this doll. The biggest one being I had my Rockstar 13 Studios phase at that point and was like, I really want a 29 so badly. And then I was also still watching Mixie Pixie 7 at that time, and of course really liked the character Cassie, who's also number 29. So I just found one off of eBay. Keep in mind, I was a very silly 16-year-old that kind of just bought whatever dolls I found and didn't really do a whole lot of research. So yeah, I got her, and although I have no regrets with her, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I could have gotten a better one for cheaper. So overall personality, she claims that she's the middle doll. She used to be like 4 years ago, but that's not really the case anymore. But still, her personality is partially that she's the middle doll and like misunderstood. She's kind of like my metalhead punk girly, which I really quite like. I think the aesthetic suits her so well. About 2022 was about when I got her the blue wig. For the longest time at one point, she just had her typical brown 29 wig. There was nothing wrong with it. It was probably the first rewigging I've done with a doll where there wasn't really anything wrong with the wig. I just wanted her to have a different wig. So, of course, she's best friends with Ginger. Ginger you'll see a couple dolls later. So this is Jolie Albright. I got her April 6th of 2021 from Facebook Marketplace. And she was in fact the very first doll I had actually bought from Facebook Marketplace. So, fun story. I think around the time shortly after I got Kat, I'm like, okay, cool, I have 5 dolls, I'm satisfied, I am done. So, almost immediately after this sentence came out of my mouth, my mother came up to me and she's like, so hey child, there is a Julie doll that somebody's selling in the area for $70 on Facebook Marketplace, do you want her? And I'm like, yes! I don't know what initially compelled me to get her. I think I just found Julie to be like just a generally pretty doll. And to be fair, I was very much right. I do love just her long flowing hair. I remember, I think I almost didn't get her because somebody else started bidding on her and won. But then that person had to drop out last minute, so then I ended up just getting the doll. And it was kind of wholesome to receive her because it was like a warm spring afternoon, and I had actually met with the owners in person, and they basically informed me that Julie was like their childhood doll. Julie's personality is very sporty but also responsible. She's kind of seconds in charge with Michelle. Basically moments where Michelle just is either acting silly or just has enough with everybody, Julie kind of steps in and kind of takes charge of everybody. I did kind of keep some aspects of her books, like basketball and her being into sports. She also just is very smart and responsible and probably does a little better job with the discipline aspect than Michelle does when it comes to her siblings. So Julie is best friends with Molly, who is going to come a little bit later, and of course they both share their overall maturity as a main thing that bonds them together. There was a whole other lore on my channel that started probably a while ago and probably longer than any of you have been watching my channel, of like Julie being friends with Charlie and then Caroline being jealous, and that still kind of carries over today. Caroline, being the little petty girl that she is, still has beef with Julie like 5 years later. So here is the aforementioned menace that we talked about earlier. This is Ginger. You know, the one that likes to hoard animals and bring wild stuff into the house for some reason. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to more personality, but she is a Just Like You 12 that I got from eBay, and her wig is a Doll of a Kind wig, once again. Also, similar to Kat's wig, if you ask me where her wig is or if Doll of a Kind sells the wig anymore, I'm, again, very sorry. Doll of a Kind for some reason does not sell his wig, as well as a lot of the other wigs that my dolls have. Once again, silly, naive 16-year-old Allie was kind of the, look, I have 6 dolls, I am satisfied with life and my collection, I am not buying any more dolls. Wrong. Wrong. Why would you think that? Why would you say that? That is a stupid assumption to make. So we end up getting Ginger because around the same time my grandma was really interested in my newfound American Girl hobby, and she wanted to actually sew some clothes for my dolls. So because she was trying to sew for my dolls and I only had 6 at the time, we ended up just buying another one because we didn't know how long it would take her to finish sewing all the clothes. We didn't want to constantly run back up and run back, like from our house to her house, to like trade off dolls, because I used all of them at that point in my videos. So we got Ginger, and even though she was probably one of the most generic looking American Girl dolls there was, I still somehow got really attached to her the minute I got her. So we sent Ginger off to go live with my grandma about an hour away. And at this time, I'm experimenting with like the tomboy caricature for like all my dolls. And then I remembered Ginger and was like, oh my gosh, she would make the perfect tomboy. So then finally, like September of 2021, I finally get her back. So originally I received her about May 27th of 2021. I get her back about September of 2021. Then about 2022, I rewigged her. So in my video, she still has a lot of the tomboy personality traits. She likes skateboarding and going on adventures with her best friend Kat. She also likes to hang out with the boys a lot, and they do shenanigans together, like pranking their siblings, especially Caroline. Her whole thing too is that she has an obsession with animals, and especially bringing in wild pets that she finds outside. Her most infamous examples of bringing animals in the house has been possums. She's hidden floorboards or in the freezer or in the walls or in the couch cushions. Raccoons that she's hidden places. And although she has quite an amount of sympathy for probably the most ugliest animals alive and the most terrifying and honestly dangerous animals alive, her siblings don't really think so, and they get kind of annoyed with her when she brings animals into the house. And that is one of the biggest reasons why she kind of drives Michelle a bit crazy. She has, so far, so many pets. She has a dog named Rufus, which she got back in 2022. She has a mouse named Humphrey, which she got around the same time. a cobalt blue tarantula named Eric, a hamster, and I think that's it, but there's always more I'm not thinking of because she has a lot of pets. So this is Molly McIntyre. She is a 35th anniversary Molly doll that I got right after the 35th anniversary release back in 2021. I believe I officially received her around May 30th of 2021, which was actually about the time I was having finals my sophomore year of high school. So she was a really nice surprise. And also shout out to my aunt for getting her for me. I did not expect my aunt to actually come through and get the doll for me, even though I did express like a want for having her. So earlier when I said that I really wanted Molly instead of Caroline, well, I ended up getting Molly and it was so cool and it was such a really nice surprise. I'm gonna keep this really short because I actually recently made a Dolls in Depth with Molly, but basically, if you've seen pictures of me around the time I was like 8 years old, no, I very much resembled Molly. I had short hair, bangs, and glasses that were like the same look that Molly's was. So getting her was very exciting. Yes, I am well aware that in her books, Molly is an actual menace to society and everybody around her. She hates turnips and doesn't like math. I don't know what compelled me to make her smart, but her personality in my videos is overall just smart and responsible. She's best friends with Julie, both because they're the most mature-ish out of the siblings. She's kind of cynical and maybe a little nihilistic. Like, she's not mean, but she also is not super optimistic about stuff either. Unlike Cat and Ginger, she actually is the middle doll in my collection, and because of that, she kind of just blends in and just absorbs information, so she's able to capture a lot more about what's going on with her siblings than anybody else can. So here is my 9th doll. This is Nelly O'Malley. I got her August 24th of 2021. So once again, I'm going to try and keep this short because I believe a few months ago I did also make a Dolls in Depth video about her too, as well as Eve, who's the doll after her. So I had always wanted a Nelly doll after watching Mixie Pixie 7 and really liking her Nelly doll. For some reason, her Nelly just reminded me of Max Mayfield from Stranger Things, so I really wanted a Nelly of my own. Problem is, Nelly is also a doll that's harder to find, but I was determined I was not going to give up, and I had actually found a cheaper Nelly doll on eBay in decent condition for like $80, which is honestly a steal, considering about 2020 and 2021. People were also more likely to overprice American Girl dolls, so Nelly's tended to be in the $100 range. Unfortunately though, by this point I had basically gotten just a ton of dolls. This had been a few months after getting Molly, so I passed up the offer and did not buy the doll, which was very silly and a very dumb thing to do. And for some miracle, I actually found another Nelly doll after searching like Strawberry Blonde, American Girl doll, and found this one. This one wasn't quite as nice of condition as the original one I found, but it was still really fun to both fix her up and also actually have a Nelly doll. She originally had like tons of like ink stains on her, which I basically had gotten out after a little bit. She had eventually gotten her ears pierced to hide like the ink stains on her ears. So her personality is overall very extroverted, very bubbly. She is a vintage girly, so she likes vintage things, very obsessed with like the past and like studying and collecting stuff from the past. She also has a weird habit of romanticizing the 60s for some reason and claims it was like simpler times, which to a certain extent, yes. She's very outgoing and just very happy overall. She's just a very happy person. So her best friend is Eve, who's kind of a bit more of the opposite of her, though I'll talk a bit more once I actually get to Eve, who's the very next doll after her. Okay, so this is Eve. She is my 10th doll. She is a historical Addie who was customized, not by me though, it was probably somebody else that did it. I don't know who. When I bought this doll from Instagram, she did come customized. So I received her September 16th of 2021, and I had bought her from the Instagram account Cup of TAG, though I don't know if Cup of TAG was the original owner. She came with a face-up, but it wasn't really a great face-up. And also she came with this wig too. Unfortunately, the wig is kind of frizzy at the ends, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm just way too lazy to change the wig, and I kind of like the wig too much. So I realized at this point that because I had bought so many dolls from eBay, just very impulsively, I had like no diversity in my collection. Also at the same time, I really wanted an Addie, but because people were like overpricing dolls during 2020 and 2021, I wasn't really able to get an Addie. So this was really exciting because it was actually my first opportunity of actually having an Addie doll, even if she was customized. And also because of that, her personality is also very separated from her books. So overall, she really enjoys art, painting, making OCs, coloring, and doing art commissions. She contrasts her best friend Nelly and is very introverted and calm. Also, one of the more mature siblings that doesn't drive Michaela up a wall, and Michaela appreciates that immensely. So another fun fact was my parents ended up actually buying the doll for me, and they were like, girl, do not buy any more dolls. You have enough already. 10 in the span of like a year-ish? No. And I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up buying another doll. I ended up buying another doll. Granted, it was like several months after getting even. By several, I mean like 6 months. So it was at least a larger gap than previous dolls. But it kind of came in a combination of factors. So first of all, again, AGTube kind of inspired me a little bit. I was really into the Boy Meets Dolls series. It was like this 90s series they did. I forgot what it's called. Oh wait, in Mike's opinion. I also really liked the custom like Kanani character. I thought that was so cool, and it was like, I want to make a boy doll that can accompany Will, and it was made from a Kanani based doll, because at this point I've always wanted a Kanani in my collection. Once again, like a lot of the other dolls that I kind of have wanted, Kanani's not very easy to find, especially in not horrible condition. Eventually I stumbled upon, I don't know how, but I think this person on Instagram was selling their dolls on Mercari, and I saw a Kanani that wasn't for $100, and that was so cool. And also, the Kanani didn't come with a wig, which was perfect for customizing. So I of course got the doll, received the doll, and then became very attached to Kanani as she was. So basically, after I'd already ordered a boy wig, I had to basically backpedal all my plans, got another wig, which is the wig she's wearing right now, and then instead of making a boy, I'd made another girl. Because I backpedaled, and I already ordered a boy wig that I did not want to go to waste, I just very last minute bought another doll. You'll see him after Lonnie, but basically the most generic blonde hair, blue-eyed doll I could possibly find on eBay for the cheapest price. Honestly, because I was afraid of getting attached to the doll again and making it into a girl, like I did with Lonnie. So this is Lonnie Akina. She is my 11th American Girl doll. So I received her March 12th of 2022. Lonnie enjoys fashion like Caroline, but she also enjoys sewing and making her own clothes. She's overall just a very friendly individual and very nice and sweet to everybody. She kind of joins with Nelly and Eve, and overall the three of them are just really nice individuals that just welcome any other new doll that comes in. She also is very reminiscent of like the Y2K style, based on her clothing here. I try my best to emulate it. She also really likes K-pop, and especially groups like Tomorrow X Together. This was the boy doll that I did end up making after getting way too attached to Lonnie. So this is Austyn. He is a My American Girl number 3. His wig is from Doll of a Kind. Once again, no, they do not sell this wig anymore, and that is very unfortunate. So I would receive him and also customize him on March 28th of 2022. I already kind of explained a little bit about how this doll came to be, but there was a lot of interesting bits too, because I think originally when his base doll was supposed to be the doll that's now Lonnie, I think he was supposed to be this dude named Wesley who would kind of accompany Will, but also would be like just a stereotypical very weird neighbor character that wasn't even in the main doll family. And actually for the longest time, he wasn't supposed to be in the main doll family. At the time, I also had gotten Austyn and Lonnie. I also had another doll that I no longer have, a well-wisher named Penelope. So, of course, having more than like 12 dolls in my doll family was kind of overwhelming for me at the time. But then, of course, so the more I had him, the more I got attached to him. And it got to the point where I was like, no, he has to be in the main family just like everybody else. So another few interesting facts about him. I actually realized at one point when restringing him that he was actually one of the oldest dolls that I own. So a lot of my dolls appear to have come from like the 2010s and 2000s. He came from like the very early 2000s, around the transition era from Pleasant Company to Mattel, which I find so fascinating. And actually the body tag he has the American Grill typo. Also, another thing I find kind of interesting, I think when I first made him and he was just there, he didn't have glasses initially, which is very fascinating considering it's kind of a huge part of the way the doll was. So, in my videos, he's friends with Will, who is the first boy doll that I mentioned like forever ago. He's kind of a theater kid, he likes musicals and plays. He also enjoys comedy, especially that one time a really long time ago he did stand-up comedy. One of his biggest hobbies includes filmmaking, and he'll often do little fun videos and other stuff like that. He also enjoys pranking his siblings. He likes to go on little hijinks with his friend Will. Though, I'll have you know, the pranks are not bad, they're just stupid. So this is Aspen. She is a Nenea Mitchell doll that I got Christmas Day of 2022. She is doll number 13 as well. So yeah, it was a very strange time. About this point, I was actually slowing down a lot with the dolls I was getting. It was about over 9 months since I got my last doll. So I had done really, really well. At this point, I'm kind of like settling in with my collection. I'm like, okay, I'm actually done, but also not really, because once again, if you've learned anything from this video, so don't say that, kids, you will be dead wrong. I had basically fallen in love with the Nenea Mitchell dolls that I would see on AGIG. Again, I was being more intentional with my collection, so at this point I thought getting Aspen was a really good idea, considering that I didn't have any dolls with the Nenea mold, and I thought they would be really cool to actually have one with the Nenea mold in it. So I was actually kind of surprised on that Christmas Day when I told my aunt I wanted the doll, and then she actually went through and got me the Nenea doll. And that was honestly the coolest thing ever. And thanks again to my aunt for getting me Aspen. So yeah, I had my own idea of what I wanted to do for her personality. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of just made her my own character. She has no prevalence to her book whatsoever. She was another doll that I ended up renaming, despite her coming with her own name. And that was mostly just because I wanted mine to be unique and different from everybody else's. A lot of people in AGIG, of course, had Nenea dolls. Of course, all their dolls were named Nenea, so I was like, no, I want mine to be special, I want mine to be different, her name will be Aspen. Her name also partially comes from just her personality, so she really likes nature, she likes to go on hikes and garden, and she also likes animals, but not possums or skunks or raccoons like Ginger. She likes just dogs and cats and stuff like that, and birds. And also she typically will just leave them outside and admire them from afar instead of just bringing them indoors for everybody to see. Overall, she's very chill. She kind of hangs out with Lonnie a lot, though one of her best friends is Eloise, which another doll I'll talk about a bit later. And she's also really close friends with Clementine. So this doll is Luke Harrison. He is doll number 14. And his base doll is a My American Girl number 23. So he has a doll from Doll of a Kind. Okay, unlike the other ones, I think, from my recollection, you can still buy this wig. This wig is still available. If you would like to buy it, I'll link that in the description. Okay, so his left eye is his original eye, and then the right eye is from a My American Girl number 8. So, this guy's got a very interesting story. I probably should just make a Dolls in Depth video about him a bit later. He's got lore in a half. I had received this doll October 16th of 2023. 2023 was just a strange year, both in terms of my doll collecting and my life in general. by this point I was overall very satisfied with my little doll group that I basically had, but also I kind of missed just buying stuff from eBay. There's something kind of special about buying an old beat up doll from eBay and fixing it up and giving it love and wondering what the previous owner did with it before they sold it on eBay. I was in a weird spot where I was like, I don't want any more dolls, but I also kind of miss fixing up dolls. So I had a whole period where I had bought dolls off of eBay. I believe it was like that I had gotten 4 other dolls that, other than just Luke, that I had fixed up that I either gave away or sold. Those other 4 dolls no longer exist in my collection. And around that same time, I was adjusting to like the college lifestyle and living away from home for the first time. And of course, dolls is like my special interest, and being away from a special interest for even a little bit, it was not great. I didn't like that very much. So I had the grand idea of like, I'll buy a doll from eBay to fix up in my dorm room as a fun little project, and then I'm gonna sell it. The thing though that I realized in the process of buying dolls and fixing them up and selling them was I'm the type of person that gets attached to dolls very easily. And even though the 4 dolls that came before Luke that I had sold don't exist in my collection anymore, they were very hard to sell, both in terms of people not buying them and in terms of me getting attached to them repeatedly. I kind of wanted a really beat up doll that I could use as like a cadaver doll for different like customizing processes that I didn't want to try out on my own dolls. No, that didn't work out quite like that. So I got him, got very attached to him, tried eye swapping him the first time, failed horribly. His face has scratches because I didn't know what I was doing, and I swapped him the second time because I didn't like his old eyes. It was a whole thing. I did a bunch of videos talking about this and going further in detail if you want to see the disaster unfold. In my videos, he enjoys Lego and collects Lego sets. His favorite video game is Minecraft. He enjoys a lot of like nerdy type stuff like Star Trek and Star Wars. He is autistic and loves talking about his special interests. So he is overall friends with Will and Austyn. He is not a family member doll. This is the very first doll I got that's not part of the main family. And also another fun fact about him is that he's actually transgender. So he's trans male, his pronouns are he, they. So here's Eloise. She is a Truly Me number 80. She is the 15th doll in my collection. And I got her February 5th of 2024. Around this time, American Girl had their notorious 70% off sale, and they were selling a lot of their old Truly Me dolls. I'd remembered back in 2020 wanting 80 for a while, and I thought she would add something really nice to my collection. She was also kind of partially an impulse buy-ish. Also, one fun fact about her is she actually shares a birthday with my AGIG anniversary, which I think is so funny. So Eloise is ADHD, both autism and ADHD, which makes focusing and being task-oriented a little bit of a struggle sometimes. She enjoys writing and storytelling. She has a very big imagination and enjoys making characters and just going on adventures through her writing. She likes to collect objects on the sidewalk just because she enjoys the storytelling potential she could find with the objects she finds on the sidewalk. She also journals a lot and keeps her own journal where she keeps track of her ideas and thoughts. So this is Clementine Wells. She is a Claudie Wells doll that I received Christmas Day of 2024. She is the 16th doll in my collection and the sister of Eloise, who we saw just a few minutes ago. Her best friend is Aspen, and her favorite activities include baking, dancing, and bird watching with Aspen. I did take a lot of her personalities off of her books. She is a bit more oriented with her character, even if her name's a little bit different. Once again, she's a doll I got from my aunt, so thank you so much if you happen to be watching this, which I don't think you are, but I think up until actually getting her on Christmas Day, I had kind of debated getting her for a while. I don't usually go out and buy dolls at full price, and I'll usually wait for like a sale before purchasing a doll. I honestly absolutely love this doll. She is once again one of the very first dolls with the Claudie mold that I have. And lastly, Here is my newest doll. This is Michaela Williams. She is a Michaela Williams doll from the World by S line, and I got her very recently, January 26th of 2026. I don't really have a whole lot to say about her. She doesn't really have a whole lot of a personality yet. I don't even know if I want to stick to her personality in her books or make my own personality like I've done with my other dolls. I am keeping her name for now as Michaela. So once again, similar to Eloise, kind of fell victim of American Girl's 70% off sale. I think when the World by S line first came out in 2021, it was, of course, looking back earlier in this video, you probably see that I actually did get quite a bit of dolls in 2021. So no surprise, when the World by S line came out, basically around the same time I got Eve and was like, had 10 dolls already, I was very reluctant to get the World by S dolls, and so I kind of kept procrastinating getting any of them. So I didn't realize until actually right before American Girl's sale that they actually still apparently had Michaela dolls. I thought they sold out of those already. I absolutely love this doll. She is a beautiful doll. Unfortunately, she is now sold out at American Girl. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about any of them, leave a comment down below. Also, if you have any personality suggestions for Miss Michaela, also leave that down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and bye.